Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon everyone. Welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be continuing the SAT Math Prep series with a quadratic equation question that says x squared plus 4x minus 1 equals 0. Find the x values in this quadratic equation. So the first thing you have to do is to write the general form of a quadratic equation, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a is the coefficient of x squared, and in this particular question, the coefficient of x squared is 1, so a equals 1. And then b is the coefficient of x, which is b equals positive 4, and then c is just the constant of the quadratic equation, right? So then you have c equals -1. Now, because we're dealing with quadratic equation and we're trying to solve this, and as you can see from the thumbnail, we're going to be working with the quadratic formula. So I'm going to write the quadratic formula down. So you have x equals -b plus or minus, okay, b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And when you do that, because you already have the value of a, right, you have the value of b and the value of c to be -1, all you have to do is just input it into this equation. So when you go on to do that, you're gonna have -4 plus or minus the square root. B squared here is just 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times -1. That information divided by 2a, and we know 2 times 1 because a equals 1, as we've seen here. So the next thing you do would be x equals -4 plus or minus b squared, which is 4 squared, right? That is, we know that to be 16 minus. So one thing I want you guys to observe so you don't make the mistake is that there's a negative here, so -4, and then there is a negative here, and negative and negative becomes positive because we're multiplying -4 times 1 times -1. So negative is going to cause this to be positive, and then you have 4 times 1 times 1, that's just 4. So you have that divided by 2. So when you go on to this, you have -4 plus or minus 14 plus 4 is just simply 20 divided by 2. So x equals -4 plus or minus the square root of 20 divided by 2. Now, this is what we have so far. But we have this information here that says plus or minus. And because we're dealing with a quadratic equation basically is the equation where the highest power of the variable, in this case the variable is x, the highest power is 2. So we need to know that we're going to have 2 values for x. So the plus or minus in the quadratic formula equation is what is going to differentiate one answer from the other, where one answer is going to have this sub equation is going to have the positive, and the second answer is going to have the negative. Now I'm going to put that in writing for you guys. So you have x, so like large X equals -4 plus or minus the square root of 20 divided by 2. So one thing you can do, you can just say maybe x1, it's just one of the values of x, or just say x, -4 plus or minus, but because we're dealing with one value of x, we're just going to stick to plus. So this is not plus or minus here, just plus. Square root of 20 divided by 2, and x sub 2 equals -4 minus the square root of 20 divided by 2. So you have x equals -4 plus. Now, the first thing you have to notice is this. You have a radical. You have the square root of 20 here. And the way you handle radicals in a situation like this is for you to simplify the radical. The square root of 20, when we want to simplify it, is the same thing as saying the square root of 5 times the square root of 4. So 5 times 4 is simply 20. right? So we have that divided by 2. So the same thing we're going to do here, x2, only that we're going to have one negative, one positive, right, equals negative 4 minus the square root of 20 is same thing as 5 times the square root of 4 divided by 2. So x equals negative 4 plus the square root of 4 is 2, and then you have root 5 divided by 2, and x2 equals negative 4 minus 2 root 5 divided by 2. So x1 is equals to negative 4. Now you have is negative 4 divided by 2 plus 2 root 5 divided by 2, and x2 here is just the same thing, really, that this is negative. So negative 4 divided by 2 minus 2 root 5 divided by 2. Do simple simplification in math. Cancel this one, you cancel this, cancel 2 here, 1, 2 here, negative 2, and then here 2 here, 1, 2 here, negative 2, cancel, cancel. So you have the value for x1 is going to be negative 2 plus root 5. And then x2, which is the second value of x, is going to be negative 2 minus root 5. So I hope this video has been useful for you guys, so that you can learn how to work with quadratic formula. Formula is very powerful, and this is basically what you get. If you guys want to see how I solve this particular question using the completing the square method or the factorization method, make sure you click in the description. So make sure you keep watching the videos on the SAT Math Prep series. I wish you guys all the very best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.